Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager, and today I want to talk to you about commitment. The name of this is called Commitment in Relationships Beyond the Basics. Because when we talk about commitment, we oftentimes think about commitment in terms of being with each other till death do us part, or in a marriage ceremony, um, in a wedding ceremony, or it could be about to being people living together and they're committed, or they have children and they're committed to being there, not going away. And of course, that's an important part of commitment, not going away. You can't really have a relationship or a family intact if you're not all there, right? But what we're talking about here is beyond the basics. What do we really mean by commitment beyond the basics? And one of the things that I've said for many, many years is that in relationships, commitment, committed relationships are arenas where that beckon us to grow, to be the best people we could be, to be the most mature people that we could be. So, for example, relationships are only thrive if people grow. Most of us, if not all of us, when we get in a committed relationship, our role models are our parents, our grandparents, and they evolve to whatever level they evolve to, but there's a lot more evolution that has to happen. For example, most of us have not seen couples that communicate under duress well. We don't see couples that are having emotional challenges that stay connected. One of my favorite phrases that I created was the key to a successful relationship is to make your connection stronger than your pain. So, what I mean by that is, for example, if I'm angry and I start to yell at my wife, I've made my pain stronger than the connection. Yelling doesn't connect us, it separates us. Shutting down separates us. Bickering separates us. We don't listen. So, in commitment, in relationships, one commitment we need to make is to grow emotionally, to grow emotionally. Sure, intellectually, but definitely right now, I want to focus on emotional growth, the capacity to develop the emotional muscle that I could listen to you even when you're saying things that challenge me, that make me want to reduce my stress and disconnect us. But instead, I don't reduce my stress in a way that disconnects us. I learn how to deal with my feelings, my stress in a way that keeps us connected. So that is when I do this with couples, there's always an invitation to grow, to be committed, to be good listeners, good expressors, stay connected to each other through thick and thin, through heaven and hell. So that is beyond the basics. And there's a lots of people such as myself that are great guides to help you develop the emotional muscle and the good habits of staying connected and making your connection stronger than your pain. And we need to be committed to that growth. We need to, it's a training program. Committed relationships is a training program. Just like going to the gym and you're committed to develop heart muscle and muscle throughout your entire body through weightlifting and training and cardio, exercise and all that, that committed relationships beckon us to be committed to growth in the emotional realm. Now, there's also growth in practical dimensions that go beyond just mere loyalty or fidelity. I talk a lot about fidelity and infidelity and the importance of not having secrets and being open. But we also need, beyond the basics, to do things that maybe we don't want to do because we're contributing to the entirety of the relationship or the family. There are times we have to leave our comfort zone, not be lazy, and to think in terms of not just me, but you as well. We're going to talk about that a little bit more next. So sometimes we need to get better at things that we don't necessarily do. We have to be committed to working on our weakest spots. For example, I'm not the most organized person. My wife would tell you that. It makes her feel really relaxed and good when I clean up after myself. So now I will make a lunch or whatever, and before I eat, I can now put everything away and then eat my lunch. It thrills her soul. We've been married 40 years. I've been doing that for a good 5 days now. I'm just kidding. Not really. I'm telling you, it's actually something that I've really struggled with, but I need to work on it beyond the basics. It's my style to just say, oh, I'll clean up later. And for some people, it wouldn't matter, but for her, it matters. So, I mean, it's very practical, but it shows growth when I do that because it shows I'm thinking about her and her experience and her well-being. There's a commitment to that practical dimension. That's just one example. But we do need to develop our weak spots. If I'm the kind of person that doesn't plan vacations and my partner's always the one planning, why don't I take it upon myself to work on that weak spot, to be committed, to be the one to plan that vacation, to make that happen? So not just in terms of the emotional muscle, but also in the day-to-day practical things that we could do and asking ourselves, what are my weak spots? What are things that I don't pay attention to that maybe I should? If I'm the kind of person that doesn't pay attention to what's going around, that needs work in the house, that would be me, then I need to practice paying attention to that. Some other husbands are really good at that. They might need to pay attention to the emotional needs of their children or their partner. Um, so we all need to look at that to really work on our weak spots and be interested in them and not judge ourselves for having weak spots. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, but what weakness that I have that if I develop that, even got better 30%, that would make a huge difference, have high impact on the well-being of my partner, of the relationship, of the family. So um, there might be also other ways that we're committed. Maybe we develop certain traits. We learn maybe some people are really serious and need to learn how to lighten up. There are those that need to that are always being playful and silly. They need to oftentimes be more, the mature one. We all want to look at that. Relationships, committed relationships, beckon us to look at the areas that need development. So that's important. There are so many opportunities to grow in a committed relationship. It really is true. Um, Going to shift back to the emotional aspect of things too. It's it's easier to be your best self when you're not being asked a lot. Well, committed relationships ask us of a lot. I've told the story of this man who's meditating in the Himalayas for 25 years and says, I am so enlightened. I'm going to go down into the city there in India, and I'm going to meet the town folks and enlighten them with my loving presence. And he goes into the city. He's been away, right? He's been isolated for 25 years in the Himalayas. And within a very short period of time, a few people just elbow him in the ribs. He's just yelling, watch where you're going. Cut it out. It's a lot easier to be peaceful when you're by yourself. But when you're being challenged, when you're being elbowed in the ribs, metaphorically speaking, or maybe in this case, literally, it's a little more challenging to stay composed, to stay kind. So there's that. And lastly, I've alluded to it a little bit, but we need to also balance the me and the we, and be committed to balancing the me and the we. Some people are they kind of naturally forget the I of the me, and they people please, and they overly adapt. And so those people need to, again, looking at weak spots, they need to learn how to be more selfish, not self-absorbed, and think about what it is that they feel, what it is that they want, what do they need to express, how can I teach my partner how I need to be treated, because my partner is just doing their natural thing and they may not be giving us what we need, so we need to teach them. Okay, that's the kind of person often that needs to practice thinking about what do I want. Then the person who tends to live more in their comfort zone and doing what they want, They need to think in terms of two more, not just one. They need to think in terms of the other person instead of just them. We need to have a balance between the me and the we. There's me, and then there's you, the two individuals, but then there's we. And we need to do that. If a person is really focused on work, have a lot of that, and they aren't spending enough time just slowing down and being with their partner, they need to realize that the we suffers in those situations. And that person needs to balance out their achievement and all the stuff they're getting for themselves in terms of the ego satisfaction, nothing wrong with that, with the importance of working on the weaker spots. Again, maybe this kind of person that I'm thinking of, even a client of mine I'm seeing right now, may not be really good, really adept at sitting down and doing nothing, just hanging out with their partner, being interested, asking probing questions, listening and responding to their partner's probing questions, not just to get a new business deal, but to just be. So we always need to balance the me and the we. When you don't have enough of your own I and everything is about the relationship, not good. If you don't have enough we and you're just focusing on the I, that's not good. It's like some of us that are old enough know the Venn diagrams where you have a circle and another circle and then there's an overlap. So you have the two circles where there's a part of the circle that has its own individual space, but there's an overlap where there's an overlapping space where both circles share that space. It's kind of a good metaphor for a healthy relationship, balancing the me and the we. So that's what I wanted to share, that when you're committed in relationships, that we need to work on our emotional growth, learning to make sure that we regulate our emotions by staying connected, to make our connection stronger than our pain, to work on even some of the day-to-day stuff that maybe we don't typically pay attention to. That's also a commitment beyond the basics to grow and to make the couple, the family, the house flow better. And also the balancing the me and the we. So there are so many opportunities to grow. We need to accept that life is not always easy. The paradox, when you accept the challenge of life, it doesn't become quite as challenging. You're taking it on. And committed relationships, you take it on. You realize you can't get it all your way, nor can you never have your way. Neither one of those works. So we got to do that. We're going to do that, attending to all of that. So that's what I wanted to say to you today. Thank you for listening. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.